Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mohamed Zakafli. Today, my group will go over the contribution of Maqasid Syariah to the infrastructure development of a developing country. Let's go. First thing first, let's look at what Maqasid Syariah and infrastructure development are all about. Okay, basically, Maqasid Syariah are the objective behind Islamic rulings, and the primary objective of Maqasid Syariah is securing benefits for the people or protecting them against corruption and evil. On the other hand, infrastructure development is the provision of fundamental foundational services to boost economic growth and improve quality of life. Based on our research, we stress that Maqasid Syariah is critical in accomplishing this infrastructural development since Maqasid Syariah tries to protect the interests of others. Why are we saying that? We will discuss in deeper level based on these questions. The first one, the objective of Maqasid Syariah in developing countries. Next, Maqasid Syariah contributes to infrastructure in developing countries, and then the evidence that Maqasid Syariah contributes to the infrastructure development of developing countries. Next, public facilities and infrastructures facilitate human life to the extent that the provision helps to preserve the 5 essentials of Maqasid Syariah. And the last one, differences between countries that apply Maqasid Syariah in infrastructure development and countries that do not practice Maqasid Syariah in infrastructure development.
Assalamualaikum, I am Sabrina Maribidari. Now I will continue about the objective of Maqasid Syariah in a developing country.
What is a developing country? Developing countries have a high population density and most people live on significantly less money for far fewer fundamental public services. A developing nation is classified as a lower middle income country because it has a lesser economic and industrial development than other industrialized countries such as Japan and United States. As it has been defined before, Maqasid al-Syariah is formed from 2 Arabic terms, which is Maqasid and Syariah, and when these 2 words are combined, it may be defined as the objective of Islamic law. Why do Islamic developing countries need to have this Maqasid al-Syariah? It demonstrates that a thorough grasp of Maqasid Syariah may serve as a foundation or platform for developing a country so that the process and outcomes are consistent with and in accordance with the rules and standards established by Allah as the creator of the law. The Maqasid Syariah studies are not only limited to understanding the purposes of Syariah by protecting the 5 fundamental necessities, but also to study Sharia theories for turning Maqasid al-Syariah into reality in countries' development. Maqasid al-Syariah is not only a deciding tool in the development of an inventive country, but it also extends reasonable and substantial thinking patterns to those who adhere to it. For example, a country that does not practice this Maqasid Syariah frequently results in a formalistic and textual pattern of thoughts, which result in rigid outcomes. In contrast to countries that use Maqasid Syariah, it will ensure that the country develops successfully and is always in line with and relevant to the world's rapid developments in many respects. With a firm heart, Maqasid al-Syariah will bring the outcome of ijtihad to the actual purpose of Islamic law. Implementing the Maqasid Syariah ideas in addressing modern economics and financial concerns and problems would help to develop and enhance it, ensuring that it remains consistent with Sharia principle.
Developing countries are are the countries that have low gross domestic product, or we call it as GDP, and rely on agriculture as primary industry.
The example of developing countries are Bangladesh, Cambodia, and many more. These countries have the lowest living standard and the least developed industrial base. Maqasid Sharia help the developing countries by contributing infrastructures that help in increasing the economic growth that is linked to an increase in the population's overall standard of living by quantity and quality. This is because the Maqasid al-Sharia has become the veritable foundation for the development of ideas, modules, and policies in wide range of areas that comprehensive with the preservation of 5 fundamental values for mankind, demanding the provision of comforts and services in the process. It is also used in research on Islamic law, business and economics, medicine, and other academics areas. As developing countries tend to have less access to health facility and services, the provision of this facility is a priority in the framework of Maqasid Sharia-based economic development in the preservation and improvement of human life.
When Maqasid al-Sharia started contributing to the infrastructure, that means evidence of it is needed. Developing a country with the concept of Maqasid al-Sharia can guarantee the well-being of a society and provide benefits to all, regardless of religion and race. So, Maqasid provides a solid platform for analyzing developmental difficulties, devising models, and articulating strategic growth and programs based on the Islamic Sharia spirit and philosophy.
Even while the definition of what defines Daruriyat as essential has steadily been broadened to include education and healthcare, the provision of necessities of food, clothes, and housing with the goal of providing a decent living has traditionally dominated economics and development discourse. For example, a society that strives to promote human capital growth as an essential motor of progress must also spend enough in the avoidance of disputes and violence, which are always an obvious threat to human capital development.
The topic of religious moderation and plurality, as well as constructive discussion and dialogue, enhance mutual understanding between diverse religious communities, as well as mutual tolerance and positive interfaith exchange in the heart of the Maqasid. In accordance with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the United Nations has planned the Sustainable Development Goal 16, which stands for peace, justice, and strong institutions. For example, in Malaysia, even though every person has a right to profess and exercise a religion, but according to Article 11 of the Constitution, when it comes to the religion for the Malay people, they are not allowed to change their religion. To accomplish development, investments must be made not only in protecting human lives but also in establishing what ensures man's dignity such as human rights and freedom. Islam had already established certain guidelines to protect life in emergency situations such as the transmission of the COVID-19 virus. For example, Malaysia's Minister for Health, Khairy Jamaluddin, stated that Malaysians are not permitted to hold any large-scale parties over the approaching holidays like Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. Only small-scale gatherings with family and friends are permitted, with attendees being required to take COVID-19 PCR tests prior to attending. Per effort by the Ministry helped Malaysia in dealing with COVID-19 infection in line with the principal purpose of Sharia. While fornication results in the birth of single-parented children with all the repercussions that entails, as well as a variety of diseases that are detrimental to human life, rape has comparable effects in addition to the agony that it inflicts of the victims. For instance, hudud law in Aceh, Indonesia only whipping for the offences of adultery, homosexuality, drinking alcohol, gambling, and halwa along with imprisonment. As a result, in addition to the maintenance and promotion of human life, Islam prioritized the preservation of offsprings. Education and other incentives that promote the mind's functioning, effectiveness and creativity, as well as eliminating things that spoil and obstruct its correct working, such as intoxicants and superstitious beliefs, will help to improve intelligence. I will be slave of a person who teaches me a letter. Ali ibn Abu Talib, the fourth caliph, reportedly emphasizing the significance of knowledge. As an example, analytic hierarchy process AHP considers public education information to be the most successful strategy towards the express objective of promoting traffic safety in developing nations, including equitable results in sustainable planning under the Ta'lim educating people. Lastly, wealth is a realistic correlation between man's happiness in this world and his prosperity in the next. And do not give the weak-minded your property, which Allah has made a means of sustenance for you, but provide for them with it, and clothe them, and speak to them words of appropriate kindness. Sahih International, Surah An-Nisa, Ayah 5. Things that must be in place to uphold the interests of religion and the world, such as the care of wealth through the fair and non-rotating distribution of property among the rich. Moreover, the determination of Islamic law on the crime of theft and robbery. For instance, riba is outlawed under adil justice since it produces unfairness in the market economy. The purpose of Islamic law prohibits the act because it is an oppression of fellow human beings and can cripple the economic organization of a country and society itself.
Public facilities and infrastructure are one of the most important land use categorized in town planning that contribute to the community's overall livability and well-being, such as hospital, school and police stations in its human welfare sense. Individuals and communities benefit from public facilities as it provides convenient and efficient services to meet the needs and wishes of the community. The provision of these facilities somehow realizing the preservation of 5 fundamental of maslahah for human, which are religion, life, wealth, intellect and lenience. This can be seen especially when the government emphasized the principle of Maqasid al-Sharia by launching an Rm250 billion stimulus package that have a few principles, and one of it is to protect people since the outbreak of COVID-19. It also offers cash support to B40 and M40 and discounts for few services for others Malaysians.
Pam ni on-off datang, sesak nafas. Doktor pun masa tu belum pasti lagi simptom COVID ni bagaimana.
Saya ingin mengambil contoh tema Malaysia Prihatin yang menjadi aspirasi Kerajaan Perikatan Nasional untuk memastikan kesihatan rakyat terpelihara daripada ancaman wabak COVID-19 yang melanda dunia dan keadaan ekonomi negara dapat dipulihkan setelah terjejas akibat serangan wabak COVID-19.
The stimulus plan include provision to help business and improve economy as well as the living standards of the Malaysians. In time of critical conditions such as those brought on by COVID-19, the government policy aids and charity money can play a significant role in protecting one's livelihood.
As we all know, Maqasid al-Sharia is critical to the preservation of a country's infrastructure. So, how can we differentiate country who apply Maqasid Sharia and country who does not apply it? The protection in intellect in Maqasid al-Sharia demonstrates that it guides a country's infrastructural development. For example, providing education facilities allows someone or a society to acquire intellectual ability and information in order to grasp the subject matter and be able to assess what is incorrect in order to please Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, as well as aiding in the growth of a country. Thus, individuals may construct effective infrastructure facilities in a country that can benefit everybody when they have good intelligence. However, it will be different from a country that does not even wish to safeguard their people's intelligence. For example, some countries do not care about their people's education, therefore without adequate education, the people cannot contribute ideas or come up with anything beneficial to the progress of their country. Faith protection is included in Maqasid al-Sharia. Without proper protection of faith and ability to comprehend revealed knowledge, many problems would arise. such as vandalism of public property, which occur as a result of only understanding a very small portion of revealed knowledge. Vandalism causes damage to a country's infrastructure, especially public facilities. The community would embrace Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presence in every human undertaking, act or omission directed by His revealed through the Quran and Sunnah, with having strong faith, thus preventing infrastructure destruction.
After all the explanation that we have given, it is proven that the Maqasid Sharia is very important for the infrastructure development for developing countries, not just developing countries but all nations worldwide. In this video, we know the objective of Maqasid Sharia in developing country. For the first one is, what is the contribution of Maqasid Sharia in infrastructure? Next, the evidence that al-Maqasid Sharia contribute to the infrastructure development of developing country. Next, public facilities and infrastructure facilitate human life to the extent that the provision help to preserve the 5 essentials of Maqasid al-Sharia. And the last one is difference between countries that apply Maqasid al-Sharia in infrastructure and the country who do not apply Maqasid al-Sharia in the infrastructure development country. To develop the country economic and infrastructure, the government must consider Sharia compliance issue with the state, property acquisition, investment, management and cost. Maqasid Sharia, which include injunction and prohibition, halal and unlawful, Sharia principle in Islamic economics and finance, is meant to protect human interests in this world and the next. The fact is that there are still numerous strategies and approach to gain property and generate income that is halal as compared to what is prohibited. The implementation of Maqasid Sharia will strengthen and stabilize the country economies and finance. This can be accomplished by stepping up effort to develop activities. Coexistence of a national economy with forbidden items are also highly essential and are counted as part of implementation. So we hope that Malaysia will expand and introduce in more depth to any party about the use of Maqasid Sharia in everything they do. So I think that's all from us. Thank you.